So last week, the COG meeting, says it's a bunch of work day, so right. There are maybe looking at the and what have stuff on the continuing on for overall and that will again one is a pathway for us to get our funding for the overall region and therefore eventually projects on the USC. So if you have the plan, that's the actually for that was interesting and that's looking on is a program distribution and how that relates to all of the different areas, how essentially they distribute and the not only programs but operations and maintenance. This is so tiny; it was much bigger on the screen. This is like font size 1, and just how they distribute project funding for certain projects, for maintenance, for transit, etc. And they actually did a breakout of what the DRCOG region actually gets. And they first looked at DRCOG, the area that it covers, has about 60% of the overall population of the state, has over 60% of the employment, and over 70% of the income and wages. But when you look at the breakdown of how much funding we actually receive from CDOT, it's more like 31% on average of the different funding buckets. And one that stuck out to me was maintenance and operations. We really only get about 26% of those funds, despite being, and we also get a pretty low amount for transit. And so, look at what grants and feedback do we want to give to CDOT when they start evaluating their program distribution, and might we want, might it be worthwhile to be asking for more in certain areas? So that's something that the DRCOG staff is going to be working on. And then just a reminder that July and August are zero fare for Better Air month, so free transit for 2 months on RTD. So,
thanks. Mayor Pro Tem?
I don't have any report.
Councilor Baker?
Just our okay of the public really safety thing on Saturday, which was a great success, and I think almost everyone was there.
Afternoon was fun. Councilor Seymour?
Wednesday, I attended the Jefferson County Economic Development Corporation meeting. It was a pretty light agenda. We were finishing up budget updates. We did get a Jeffco School Superintendent Tracy Dorland does sit on that board and just gave a brief update about the fact that they're doing the engagements and the citizen engagements, and then especially in relationships to the properties that they are selling. And they were preparing at that time for the meeting, the Pomona 6 through 12 possible combinations. So they're doing a lot of outreach right now. We got updates on the waiting line and the people in line for Casa Bonita. The Lakewood people are just ecstatic about that. So that's it. Those two gentlemen were on all the national shows too. So it's going to be a magnet for a long time to come. So hopefully they can recoup their $40 million that they put into that. So yeah, you buy a new building and build it from scratch for that. But can't be pink and sticking out like that in the middle of everywhere either. But
Remind me, they asked for a testimony. He hadn't heard from the I have to be meeting tomorrow, so I'm from Keegan also. Just other than said, I don't need to be in the middle. Just he hadn't heard yet, and he doesn't want to miss the meeting, so and all the details. So, Councilor Izzati?
Yeah, just so I sent an email on this, but I'd like to ask for a poll to allow staff to research the possibility of getting a noise ordinance put into place in the city. I think it goes beyond the airport noise issue, but it can certainly try to help with that. There are lots of, we hear about things related to racing. When you have the modified exhaust of these racing cars, that causes a lot of disturbance in lots of different neighborhoods. From a business standpoint, there's disturbances that occur all the time related to businesses and not having, so that prevents them from having a productive environment for the employees. The nature, we talk about nature, noise pollution disrupts wildlife and ecosystems, and there's a lot of reasons for, and there are cities who are doing this more and more, within the state, but also across the country, figuring out and there's lots of different ways of implementing it. So I'm just curious, just to see the pros and cons, to see what that could mean for the city and see what the impacts could be. But I'd like staff to look into it and bring us back a proposal if it's feasible.
I know in my former years, we looked at it 2 or 3 times, and the biggest problem is it's worse than the fireworks, because you have to be able to see them do it, watch them do it, and know that that's the person that lit it. So with noise, we're already can't catch all of the streetcar racers and stuff. So I think the big question is, from our chief, is, so how do we can have one, but does it have any teeth with it? Because I would imagine you have to be with that person on top of them when they're conducting whatever noise pollution they are.
When I think the initial thought, if I could jump in on that too, was, training planes at 4:15 in the morning, I think it was. And I would like to know and get an opinion if we pass something like that, is it enforceable with the FAA and the tower too? So I'd be interested in some research on that.
Mayor Pro Tem?
My understanding is it's not.
Okay.
We had this discussion when we started talking about going at the round table before, and the explanation that was given to us at that time was basically if it's in the air, it's the FAA's, and none of our ordinances apply, because it's been brought up before. So as far as the airport piece, I know that it wouldn't help the situation, just for that piece.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, that hasn't changed. Our understanding is the FAA preempts the city on noise issues, so I don't think that a noise ordinance would be enforceable against aircraft.
Can I? But there are cities, though, who have air noise pollution that installed ordinances where it was applicable.
So the one example that was recently offered was San Diego, and our understanding is that the San Diego International Airport is actually within the city of San Diego. So the city's regulatory authority covers that airport in a way that we don't include the RMMA inside of city limits, right? That's in Jefferson County, but outside of Westminster's boundaries.
I'd be open to us looking at a noise ordinance. When I was a consultant out in California, pretty much every city I worked with had one. I was surprised when I came to work for Westminster that we didn't, but I don't think it's the common vein out here in Colorado, but there could be things, I don't know what, but often it came from just noise pollution along streets and then having to mitigate for that. And so it's more of an analysis of environmental impact, which we don't have for every project that we do. So in some ways I'm just throwing stuff, and thinking out loud, but would imagine that if we did have this noise ordinance that we would want to bake in, that we would have to evaluate development and its impact to the noise environment or to other adjacent uses. That's how it used to be treated, and when I was doing environmental reporting out in California, but I don't know if we're going to have it, it ought to be used.
Yeah, I think to that point, we hear about Independence and those folks, right, with the constructions, and there's a lot of different kind of issues that we get that are related to noise that even if it's not going to be applicable to airport noise, it seems like it's worth a look. That's all I'm saying.
Councilor Baker?
I think the problem is enforcement. I think the mayor is absolutely correct. It'd be even worse than the fireworks, which we don't enforce. Are we going to have officers with really decibel meters and put in definitions of how much noise is too much noise? And are there going to be time frames with it that you have to generate over 90 decibels for more than 10 minutes?
We have actually evaluated when we were doing the development in the Weston area. I believe the neighborhood adjacent to it was asking us to evaluate the noise impact. Does anybody remember this? I don't know. And we did go out with noise monitors to see.
You could put one on my fence constantly, just for the drag racing.
Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, it was more in relation to a potential development and something like events, I think, too.
We have the motorcycles that just can't go 30 miles an hour. They have to ramp themselves up and go. Mayor Pro Tem?
My problem with it is the same, it's enforcement. I think it's gonna be, I understand. I think it'll be applied. I just think it'll be that enforceable and that would maybe actually use, it's like neighbor on neighbor kind of thing would be my concern. I mean, we see it with, the fireworks is a good example. And my understanding isn't that we don't enforce it, it's that it's hard to enforce because they have to see it. The police actually have to be the ones who see it happen in order for them to write the ticket. So with our limited resources, if we, like, who's gonna police the noise? I guess it wouldn't necessarily have to be, maybe it could be code enforcement. I don't know, I don't see the overall value the more I've thought about it in the 5 years I've been on.
City Attorney, pluses, minuses?
Well, I think enforcement is the challenge, and you'd want to get input, I think, from the police and from code enforcement if you were evaluating a noise ordinance.
Can we get a top level, less than 3 hours conversation to see if it makes sense to even look at it?
Too easy, Mayor.
Okay.
Just say so. Do we got 4?
Is there enough people that say at least do that?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, you got them.
Okay, we'll do.
Could I real quick? This is much easier, I think, but there was an ask from Counselor Emmons and I think Counselor Zadi about ballot measures, and I know there were a couple that we had talked about that we're gonna have come back. There's one specific one that I've brought up a couple times, and I didn't really think of it in the light of the ballot measure, but it might be the right time to talk about lot sizes, because that was something that we had told the community we were gonna look at again, and the challenge with looking at Thornton's model and water rates was the fact that our charter says something differently. So to me, that feels like if that is something we're ever gonna do, there would be a charter change. So I would like to at least to know when we're gonna have that conversation, because it's several times.
Sorry, what was the change that?
If you remember back to the water discussion and the tiers, we had talked about the Thornton model, and in the Thornton model, they say what tier you end up in depending on how big your lot is. So that they're matching lot and still holding some accountability to conservancy and making sure you're not overwatering. But our charter has language that says you shall not discriminate. And so technically, if you said your lot's bigger than mine, so you get to stay in different tiers, then you're discriminating our lot.
Yeah, if I could, Mayor, I think the language issue is that we can discriminate within classifications of users. And right now, residential is one classification of users. So the alternative path, if council wanted to pursue that, would be to create more than one classification of residential users. You just couldn't, right now, under the single residential classification, have the differential rates. So I don't honestly know that a charter amendment would be necessary, so much as a changing of the rate structure and the creation of new classifications of users.
If the path is that, then, and that's something we're gonna work on, that's fine with me. I just wanna know that we're gonna at least discuss a path and decide whether or not that is something that's right for our community. And because that was something that I at least said that we were going to do, and I thought that the majority agreed with that. At least evaluating a way to do that and seeing if it fit.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Do we have 4 that want to pursue that? 1, 2, 3, 4, there you go. Okay, so we'll add that to the July 31st ballot measures discussion. Is that appropriate?
It's kind of that in between.
Or is there an alternate path to creating different classifications of users?
Okay.
So that there wouldn't just be
Would
one
have it.
classification of
Be a
residential users.
budget discussion during water rates.
I think it could be part of the rate
That may be a
discussion.
better.
And that would fit. I just, didn't realize that was a path. And so if the only path was the charter amendment, I didn't want to miss my window.
And I could add a clarification that it is on staff's work program to look at it, and it had a longer time frame on it because of the data involved, and that we haven't structured ourselves this way, so we don't have the data that links our water accounts with lot size, with the actual size of the customer lot. And so it would be a significant data gathering exercise, and I think that they had a timeline on that, which was lengthier than the one you're describing, Mayor Pro Tem. So, but we'll work with the city manager, get an updated work plan, and coordinate that with the city attorney.
It does get complicated also, because the tap fees that were charged were just the same tap fees for residential as a single classification. So if there's a desire to have multiple classifications, I think you'd have to evaluate what the tap fees should look like. So it does get a little complicated. I think that the solution that staff had identified was the changing of the thresholds between tiers 1, 2, and 3 as a way to adjust for lot size, in a way to allow for more usage in each of the 3 tiers, or each of the 2 lower tiers, I should say, that would allow for larger lot users to stay within a tier for a longer period of use.
Okay.
Councilor Newman?
I was just gonna say, if we could just have a little bit of lead time before, maybe a study session on it in advance of getting more into the rates, so that we have time to ask questions, mull it over, and then adjust or whatever's needed.
Anything else you need from us? All right, we'll take a quick break before we get started.
2 minutes. We're running.
Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting, June 26, 2023. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Westminster City Council meeting for June 26, 2023. We thank you for coming and would like to remind all in attendance that our meetings are subject to the rules of decorum that are posted at the back of the room. We want to be sure you all feel welcome and remind all there is an expectation that no attendee will disrupt this meeting and that threats and intimidation are prohibited. Signs and placards are prohibited in council chambers, and all attendees shall remain seated in the seats provided, not in the aisles, nor shall the doorways be locked. Roll call, please.
Councillor Baker.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Present.
Councillor Emmons. Councillor Azadi.
Here.
Mayor McNally.
Here.
Councillor Nermella.
Here.
And Councillor Seymour.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we excuse Counselor Emmons from tonight's meeting.
Councillor Seymour.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to excuse Councillor Emmons from this meeting tonight. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to consideration of minutes of June 12th. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the June 12th, 2023 meeting as presented.
Councillor Seymour.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of June 12th, 2023. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to public comment. The public comment portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the public to communicate with the City Council. Each participant will be given no more than 5 minutes on any topic they choose. Public comment is not intended to be a back and forth discussion. If there is a public hearing scheduled for an item on which you wish to speak, please hold your comments until the public hearing. Tonight, there are no public hearings. This evening, the city clerk has informed me we have
8 emails that were attached to the packet, 1 voicemail, and we have 2 speakers signed up to speak in person.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first speaker is Tom Lampo.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back in front of Westminster. Hope all of you are doing well. I'm here to pray for the city of Westminster. Heavenly Father, in Jesus Christ's precious and holy name, we invite you here to the city of Westminster. You are always welcome here. You are flawless in all matters. Your character can never be questioned. At times we are overwhelmed with life. We feel alone, but we aren't. In Psalm 139, 1-4, David writes, "O Lord, you have searched me and know me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether." We can take comfort in knowing we are known by you, and you are near at all times. You are a patient, loving, and merciful God. In Psalm 86:15, it attests to your character and states, "But you, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abundant in loving kindness and truth." Your patience, love, and mercy extend to us because you want everyone to commit to you. In Luke 12:23, it states, "Whoever is not with me is against me, and whoever does not gather with me scatters." So I beg your mercy and ask you to send your Spirit to us. In John 16:13, you state, "When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth. For he will not speak on his own authority, but whatever he hears he will speak, and he will declare to you the things that are to come." Let the Spirit guide us in truth. In Jesus Christ's precious and holy name I pray. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is John Palmer.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors, mayor, city manager. Mr. Andrews. I had quite a few things on my list earlier today, but one of them being Elite Motors, the other one being the Alpine Vista development. But after working with Logan Morley over in community development this afternoon, we'll kind of just let those rest for now, see how it pans out. So there's been a lot of chitter and chatter on social media concerning some nesting eagles over at the Highland Ponds. I understand that there are federal regulations. The Wildlife Conservation Group has been informed. People are questioning what's the plans moving forward with the water treatment plant with the eagles being nesting over there. So if we could get some kind of update on that. I don't know if city manager's office is aware of all of that at this point. All right, I was informed that there should be a letter coming from the Wildlife Conservation Group about that, because it is a federal thing with messing with the eagles in their nest while they're, whatever it is they do, laying eggs. All right, quickly, I'd like to give both the fire chief and the police chief gold stars. Excellent. Saturday presentations, demonstrations, interaction with the community, just top-notch affair. Can't say enough for those first responders. And I believe Sergeant Esslinger put all that together.
That brings us to city manager's report. Oh, voicemail, sorry. Sorry.
No, that was the last one person we had signed up. We do have a voicemail.
Okay, go ahead.
May I speak as well?
Just 1 second.
If we could have the person in the audience speak first.
We have a sign-up time for people to speak, and if there's anyone that forgot to do that or didn't do that, now's the time to raise your hand and come forward. Welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, even though I didn't get signed up on that. My name's Craig Russell. I've been here before. I wanted to talk to you about the systematic inspection reports that we get from the city of Westminster, and we've talked a few times about it. No one's really ever gotten back to me, and I've asked for you guys to nominate that so we can get it on discussion with the council, but no one seems to find it important enough to be able to do that. What's upsetting about it is because it seems to be rather discriminatory, what we're doing on that. It's not applied equally to everybody. And something else that isn't applied equally to everybody is the way we're doing the water here in Westminster. And I'm kind of a little upset about that too. I can understand how different rates are different gas station, not all this. Well, shouldn't you expect to pay $3.71 a gallon? Any of you? But that's not the case, because that's what a homeowner pays for water. Every 1,000 gallons of water, they pay $3.71, which is a new higher increase at the beginning of this year. But I, as a renter, pay $7.85 for that same amount of water. And I don't think that I should have to pay more than anybody else just because I rent. I think that's a discrimination, and I think it's unfair. We're asking for affordable housing in Westminster. I certainly do my best part to keep it affordable for the people that rent from us. But they pay their own water bills. I don't pay it for them. They have to pay it themselves. They reimburse it. And they're getting cheated. There's no other way to put it. When you pay over 100% more than the next guy for the exact same thing, that's just not fair. And I'm going to have to just assume you guys don't know about that. But then I'd wonder why the city council wouldn't know about something like that, because they are in charge of that kind of stuff. And I thought, well, maybe it's because we only paid up till 2022, $6 for the inner structure fee per line. So if I had 4 units, I paid $6. But of course, we changed that to, we call it the road improvement fee now. And now it's $6 per every unit. Everybody pays it. So everyone's bill, on top of paying double for the water, went up by $6. And that has to be paid even if the unit is vacant. If there's nobody living in it, you're still charging them for roadway improvement fees, even if there's no one there. So if you had 10 units, you went from $6 to $60. If you had more, you went up to $600. There was no information that this was coming down the line. I've looked at all my bills. I have them for years. There was no warning this was going to happen. Just all of a sudden you got a bill for, in my case on a 4-unit, $24 instead of $6. So I thought that maybe the rate would come down to help compensate for that. It has not. We're still being gouged, and we're being gouged unfairly as a renter. Again, would you pay 115% more than the guy sitting right next to you at the gas station? Doesn't seem fair to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Who else raised their hand? Welcome.
Welcome, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to take just a couple minutes. Some of you, I think all of you, probably at least on the council, got an email from me and my wife here this last week concerning a proposal for getting on the ballot this November, a measure that would allow us to do what every other city surrounding us does, what just about all cities of any size, more than just a few thousand people do, and that is to have wards or districts in their election of city councilors. That ensures that each area is better represented. It facilitates better communication to your councilor. One side benefit is if you look at the cost to run successfully for election here in Westminster to city council, it tends to be, maybe 3 times that of similar cities surrounding us, like Thornton or others, because you only need to get your message out to a little smaller area than the entire city. There are probably many ways to skin that cat. I proposed one. I shared a proposal that probably is the least disruptive, I guess, if you will. It kind of keeps the city council about the same size and divides things up kind of by North and South Adams County and a kind of a Jeffco ward. In the end, I would say that will have to be fine-tuned based on population so that it's equally balanced. There are other ways to do it. Personally, I probably would prefer to have, actually add probably another district or 2 and even have a little more granularity there and maybe even increase the size of the council by a couple of people. Whether that's through districts or even at large approach there. But I want to really kind of minimize the at large part of it, because I think that you really want to have that focused attention that comes with having wards and having counselors being able to just be primarily responsible. Not, I don't want to disregard the fact that they need to look out for the entire city, but certainly have that focused attention that comes with a smaller ward that they represent. So if you look at that email, you'll see that all the cities surrounding us do it. Even cities that are smaller than us have as many as 8 or 10 counselors. And it probably worked pretty well back in the day when Westminster was a real small city to have just a few, just in at large, half dozen counselors. I think we've outgrown that a long time ago. And it's way, way past time to get that on the ballot. No, we don't need to study anymore. I think that was not very helpful to put a ballot measure out there to do a study. It's been done. It's been being done all around us. You guys need to just get together and agree on something that makes sense, and let's get it on the ballot here in November.
Sir,
Thanks.
may I have you introduce yourself for the record?
Oh, okay. Yeah, some of them know me because I've talked to them before. I'm Scott Ireland, and am a resident, longtime resident. We go all the way back to 1986. I've lived in the city, kind of up on the north end of town. Thanks.
Anyone else? City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors. We'll go ahead and get started with our city manager update. If we could have the next slide.
Oh, sorry, we have a voicemail.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
forgot. That's the reason I was trying to get that piece done first.
Hello, this is Cheryl E. Martinson. Lived in Westminster most of my entire life. I live in Kings Mill on West 90th Avenue. I'm calling to urge you not to vote for a new water treatment plant. I feel that the old one can be repaired at much less cost. Our citizens in Westminster, especially our seniors, we're already taxed and property taxed almost out of our ability to stay in our homes where we have lived for many, many years. I don't think we need a new tax to buy a new plant and build a new plant when we can repair the old one. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Let's try it a third time, City Manager. You're up.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem here. So next slide. So good news, much anticipated bonchon in town, Westminster. I've heard that some of our city staff members have gone to check out the cuisine and have loved it. And so encourage folks to go visit bonchon, and then certainly go check out the other businesses that we have in our downtown as it continues to grow. So good news story there. Next slide. One of the things that we've been working on since the great global cleanup and Earth Day and all of that earlier this spring was our city participation in the Leave No Trace campaign, and specifically our communications team is going to run a summer photography contest. So starting currently, we've got the contest for residents to actively and positively engage while educating people about the city's Leave No Trace initiative. So if you submit your best photos showcasing Westminster's natural beauty that we aim to protect, they're going to select kind of those top level folks, and then we'll run essentially a community-wide social media contest, correct, and donating those to the project. And so if you want more information, go to our city website /contest. And then to follow up on one of our young students here in Westminster, participated in the 94th Scripps National Spelling Bee. And so Aditi Muthu Kumar won the Spelling Bee back in March, and then she finished 74th place for that overall at the Scripps competition in DC later this spring. And so another great achievement by one of our up-and-coming Westminster students. So congratulations to her, and I'm sure her parents are extremely proud. Next slide, please. Some things to know. Environmental Advisory Board meeting goes this Wednesday, June 28, 6:30 to 8 p.m., and that's in the City Hall CMO conference room. City Hall is closed on Thursday morning for employee safety and security exercise from 8 a.m. to noon. That's this Thursday. We'll have information coming out to the community via social media for that. Essentially, it's been a long time since the city has conducted fire and evacuation drills, tornado drills, and we've never done an active shooter drill here in City Hall, and so we'll be doing those three activities and working through those on Thursday morning. So we appreciate everyone's patience as we do that, but those are three important things that we need to do for our employees that work here at City Hall. Neighborhood Nights and Movie in the Park, Friday, June 30th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. It's historic Westminster down at Fireman Park. And the rescheduled city council study session for Monday, July 3rd is moved to July 31st. So just a reminder for that. And then there was some confusion about the Plan Commission meeting for tomorrow night, and I guess it was it was on the council calendar, but it's not tomorrow night, so we've pulled that down off of the website. Wanted to make sure people knew that that was going to happen here tomorrow night. It goes Tuesday, July 4th, that's 10 p.m. at recognition of Independence Day. Special Permits Board meeting is Wednesday, July 5th, 7 to 8:30 p.m., City Hall Council Chambers. 1870s Vintage Baseball, presented by the Westminster Historical Society, will be held Saturday, July 8th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Wolf Run Park. Neighborhood Nights, again, on Friday, July 7th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. That's also in historic Westminster Fireman Park. And then our next city council meeting will be Monday, July 10th, beginning at 6:30 right here in council chambers. Next slide. Information-only items is proclamations and presentations. I'll just make a caveat for the council, not asking for any decisions, not asking for any guidance. If you want to talk about that at a future meeting or a study session, we certainly can. I had asked our city clerk, Abby Fitch, to do some research, find out other options. We can look at other options, but certainly, just something to look at our efficiencies in our meetings, and is there a better way? And so if you don't think there's a better way, no harm, no foul, but we certainly offer that up as a potential solution. Next slide. And then, as always, remind the community to please give us a call. We want to take your calls, your questions, your concerns, your issues, your feedbacks, your thoughts. Please give us a call at the city manager's office, 303-658-2006. You can email me directly at mfreitag@cityofwestminster.us. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, check us out on Instagram, or ring our bell at Nextdoor. As always, we want to remain accessible, responsive, transparent, and accountable. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Any questions? Councilor Namella?
I was just wondering on the proclamations piece, when would we have a chance to discuss that?
If the council so desired, we could schedule it for an upcoming study session. Right now, our August study session cycle is pretty slow, so we've got some options in August if the council wanted to do that.
I agree. Do we have 4 people that would like to see a discussion? I see more than 4.
Okay, we've got it, Mayor, and so we'll get that on the calendar for August. Thank you. That's pending any questions, other ones?
No, just a quick note, Manager Freitag, this came in late as a liaison to special permits and licensing. I believe the licensee requested to have their hearing pulled for the 5th, and it has already been updated on the website.
Good, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? That brings us to council comments. Councilor Namella?
I just wanted to, thank the fire department and the police department for putting on such a great outreach event on Saturday. And I was really happy to see how many people attended, and really impressed by everything that was put together, whether it was people rappelling down our our clock tower, or the helicopter being there to. It was just great. Also, just wanted to acknowledge the loss that we have today, and we lost a really important contributor to just the overall fabric of our city. Mary Beth Jenkins was a consultant with the city for about 20 years, and she was the brains and implementation behind a lot of our major retail and placemaking efforts throughout the city over this past 20 years. So if you go to the Promenade and Walnut Creek, and you go to the Orchard or the new downtown, her efforts were behind getting the retail, getting the vision that the city had into actual physical form. And I had the pleasure of being able to work with her for quite some time through the downtown project. And she had great passion for what she did. She was definitely a community builder, and she put a lot of energy and example of how to be leader and spend creative and really making a difference in having others and she really saw
Because she's ordered got both. It was with each other and
Kelly.
Yes.
Angela? Yes.
Modify the concept plan review process.
Council move it to pass. Councilmember 33.
By authorizing negotiated agreement for national curriculums, authorized promoted Motorola United agreement and other
So much.
Thank you. Yes.
Passes.
That brings us to item C, 10C. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move based on the recommendation of the city manager to find that the public interest will be served by sole source agreement with Valley High Melchers for purchase for 2023.
To pass item C, is there any further discussion?
Typically, with these sorts of shelters, there's a silent issue of that reduces access to all the folks who are experiencing need. So my question is, so for example, there's identity documentation, criminal records, immigration status, all sort of pet policies, that reduce the access to these folks. What are the rules? What would the rules be in this setup?
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilors. I'm Tomas Herrera Mischler, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Libraries. Councilor Azadi, I'm not familiar with the exact rules and guidelines that are required. I know that the primary barrier to housing people in this hotel is previous behavior that caused them to be banned by the hotel itself. So,
Okay. Can you get back
yes,
some future
I can
points?
speak with our expert informant, who is Kate Scarbeck, and get back to you with more details on that.
Thank you.
Councilor Seymour.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I'm correct in also assuming that part of our homelessness effort is it's critical that we have beds available in order to offer those services and offer those beds before we can move someone off public land. Is that correct?
That's correct. This provides the hotel voucher so that we can get them into a shelter of some sort. But it's not a traditional shelter, it's just space in a hotel where we can issue that hotel voucher and get them out of our public spaces or private spaces for that matter.
And then the other part of the continuum is if they are eligible to go to this, having not been banned before, and there are rooms available, then at that point, we start the timeline to remove them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Baker.
I mean, how many stays approximately does this buy?
You got that? I will have to get back to you on that exact number, Councilor. I don't know.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm curious, so with folks who have a history with this particular place, how does that affect being able to move to the next step of our continuum, or does it?
We would look to use a hotel voucher for another facility.
Okay, great, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, roll call, please.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Councilor Nermella?
Yes.
Councilor Seymour?
Yes.
Councilor Baker?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott?
Yes.
And Councilor Azadi?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
That brings us to item 11A, second reading of Councilor's Bill number 32. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 32 on second reading to approve amendments to section 11-11-8 and 11-11-16 of the Westminster Municipal Code to update references to the comprehensive plan with the sign regulations.
Counselor Seymour?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass item 11A, Counselor's Bill number 32. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Nermella?
Yes.
Counselor Seymour?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott?
Yes.
Counselor Azadi?
Yes.
And Mayor McNally?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
It is 7:41. I wish everybody a happy 4th and a safe 4th. And don't forget that every ball field will be filled with our sparkler tournament that starts Wednesday. So happy 4th of July.
Mayor, we do have a post-meeting presentation. No.
Where the number of speakers who are tonight, you'll see it's very behind.
That are lined up to speak, we gave time to, if they were trying to give the whole thought, we gave them time to get together and figure it all out. But you know my style, I don't do anything unilaterally, so if we had an Uplands come again, when we first were hit with that, and I probably would have us have that discussion, see where everybody was, go with the consensus, and get on with it.
I think it's good. I guess I would just ask that wherever we publish how we do things, that we have that posted somewhere, that it could be 3 to 5, depending on, you know, however you want to word it. I mean, sure, you can do it a lot more legally eloquent than what I would say, but.
And the reason I'm okay with it, after 3 days of listening a year ago, how many person talked about it, we could even use under quasi judicial. We listened hours and hours of stuff, they hated it, they didn't like blah, 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 blah. That just, we can't use that determination. And I think I counted less than handfuls of people that addressed what we really make decisions with. But I have no trouble making it 3 minutes when we have, and let.
I can do small, miss if I missed. I think we had about 15 years. I think it was a mistake. See Upland, which we had 100.
So the
So, I
rest
mean-
of public comment, this will apply to public comment and public.
Suppose that it's on the public testimony already contains this provision, where it's used if the receiver is unduly prolonged receipt. This would adopt a similar rule for public comment, and it would be published with the agenda. So right now, when we publish our agenda, each of these rules in the agenda, and this is delivered by council, so we have to do it.
I'm in favor on the comment side of it. I think what we found too, we were just looking back at that, most of the people never went over 3 minutes, a majority, so that's probably not the side of it.
I don't mind part of the way I know, but I'm